Dear sisters and brothers, good evening and welcome to today's edition of Being Heartful Every Day, the evening session. This is Prasanna Krishna. I'll be facilitating this program today. We are on day 50 of week 8. As was discussed yesterday and in the morning, the quality for this week is simplicity. So we are trying to develop this quality of how to become simple. So a small request to all of you. Please do share the master classes by Daji to new seekers who may be interested in heartfulness, in starting heartfulness, especially with your family and friends, because I think we need to bring this to the attention of as many people as possible, that a system like heartfulness exists and it will be worthwhile. But when each of us share this to one or two of our friends and family, every day, if we could do one or two shares every day, it will be very helpful. And also try to share this even being heartful every day to people who are already practicing. With this request, we move on to the reading portion of it today. We'll be reading from a user guide to living part 5. This series of articles by Daji. I just read the introduction so that we are familiar with why we are reading this. Daji continues his series of everyday living, introducing the 4th universal principle of the user's guide. To live simply, to be identical with nature. This was written during the COVID-19 pandemic. Currently, the COVID-19 pandemic is forcing us to recalibrate our lifestyle. And for many of us, that means simplifying our lives in ways that we could not have imagined a few weeks ago. This 4th principle will help us visualize our way forward and be creative in the ways we adapt to the current circumstances. Learning to simplify life. The 2 wings of a bird. Before moving to the 4th principle, let's pause for a moment to see how far we have come. In the earlier articles of the user's guide, we explored principles 1 to 3 about the spiritual practices of meditation and prayer and the ultimate goal of existence. The remaining 7 principles cover other aspects of daily life relating to activities and interactions with others. Authentic progress includes both the worldly and the spiritual dimensions of existence because they're not separate. And Babuji uses the analogy, spirituality and materiality are like 2 wings of a bird. A bird cannot fly with 1 wing alone. This statement of Babuji is often misinterpreted according to the particular disposition of the reader. For example, some take it to mean that material success and spiritual success coexist, so that they can conveniently justify their material desires, pleasures, and indulgences that are not in tune with the spiritual progress. Some go to the other extreme, diving into spirituality in order to escape the human side of life, believing that their God or Guru will somehow wave a magic wand and come to the rescue whenever there is a problem. It reminds me of one of Aesop's fables about a man from Athens who was going on a long sea journey when his ship was struck by a terrifying storm. He managed to escape from the sinking vessel with a few others, and they all held on to planks of wood from the shipwreck to stay afloat. There was an island nearby, so most of the survivors started swimming towards the shore. But the man from Athens did not. Instead, he started praying to goddess Athena, please rescue me from this terrible situation. I promise I'll build a temple in your honor if I survive this. He was pleading thus. A sailor swam by and called out, pray to Athena by all means, but also start swimming if you want to survive. What happens when we rely on the spiritual dimension to solve worldly issues? In the early 1980s, the psychologist John Wellwood coined the term spiritual bypassing to describe the phenomenon he observed in many meditators, that they use spiritual practices and beliefs to avoid dealing with unsolved emotional and psychological issues. Today, this term is commonly used in the West for behavior that results in a conceptual, one-sided kind of spirituality, where one pole of life is elevated at the expense of the other. And subconscious tendencies are not dealt with at all. Wellwood observed this wreaking havoc in people's lives, especially in relationships. Spirituality becomes a sort of escapism to avoid challenges of worldly life. Today, this is common, with this mushrooming number of teachers offering fast food spirituality. But it is nothing new. In Babuji's lifetime, he also encountered a wide spectrum of spiritual paths and practices, and lamented that many so-called gurus are merely parroting scriptures and techniques without having the necessary caliber, expertise, and experience to guide their followers towards the goal. He also came across paths that prescribed austerity and isolation, where practitioners ran away from being the psychological and interpersonal dimensions of being. Both extremes miss the point. Babuji realized that a genuine spiritual path has to support the personal, interpersonal, and transpersonal levels of being. I think we have about a couple of minutes before we get into the universal prayer. Let's introspect on what we read till now. We'll continue with the reading tomorrow. So let's all close our eyes gently and introspect on what we read so far in the past 7-8 minutes. At 9 p.m. sharp, we'll move on to universal prayer. Yeah, it's getting to be 9 p.m. now. So let's move on to the universal prayer. Let's sit comfortably, close our eyes, try to get into a deep prayerful state, and pray that all brothers and sisters are being filled with love and devotion, and real faith is growing stronger in them. I'll repeat that again. All brothers and sisters are being filled with love and devotion, and real faith is growing stronger in them. हम अपना आंखें बंद करके आराम से बैठेंगे और एक प्रार्थना भाव में डूब जाएंगे और ये प्रार्थना करेंगे कि सभी भाई बहन प्रेम और भक्ति से भर रहे हैं और उनमें सच्ची श्रद्धा दृढ़ होती जा रही है। फिर से पढ़ूंगा। हम ये प्रार्थना करेंगे कि सभी भाई बहन प्रेम और भक्ति से भर रहे हैं और उनमें सच्ची श्रद्धा दृढ़ होती जा रही है। So let's continue our prayer till 9:50. we can gently open our eyes while trying to retain the prayerful attitude which is developed in us. Let's try to retain that attitude and slowly open our eyes. A very heartfelt thanks to everybody for participating in this. It's been very beneficial to all of us, I'm sure. So let's meet again at 6 a.m. tomorrow morning to continue this activity. Let's part now with a very gentle reminder that let's sit for the bedtime prayer before we go to bed, reflect on the activities during the day. And if we realize that we have committed any unintentional mistakes, let's beg for forgiveness and resolve that we'll never repeat it again. This is best done in a very supplicant mood. So let's do a bedtime prayer tonight before we go to bed, and see you all tomorrow at 6 a.m. Thank you and have a good night.